piano people. Welcome to the Casual to Confident Piano Player series, video number 15. Today we're going to be hearing from Sarah, who's going to be playing the Chopin Nocturne, Opus 48 number 1. Sarah has been taking lessons for a really long time since she was a little kid, and I'm so excited to hear her play today. I want you to experiment with me a little bit during this video. So I have the score up on the screen while Sarah is playing. Before you listen to my comments, I want you to watch the recording a couple of times of Sarah playing this piece, and I want you to grab the notes app on your phone or perhaps a pencil and paper, and I want you to take some notes and notice what are some things, first of all, that Sarah is doing really well in this piece, because there's a lot of them, and what are some things that you notice in her playing that you might also be working on in your playing. And I want you to start to tune your ear in. If you're new here and you haven't done this already, see if you can kind of turn on that active listening ear so that you can really engage with this performance and learn from it. And if you've been doing this before, then you're a pro at this already, and go ahead and do what you usually do. Let's dive in. gorgeous. I loved it. Your playing is spectacular. You really honestly do play at a very high level, and I know that you have aspirations of going on and teaching piano and going to school for piano, and I think that you are gonna do so well. So thank you so much for letting us use your recording for this video. I think that it's clear you've put in a ton of time and energy into this video, and I'm just so excited to go over it with you. I love your musicality. I love that when you play, it seems like you have really explored the range of dynamics, and that's coming through in your playing. It's clear that there's not a single phrase in this piece that you haven't gone through and really made some choices about what you're gonna do musically, and that's coming through, and it's really lovely to hear. I think the opening of this piece is a little bit tricky. There's octaves in the bass, and then you alternate and you come up and you play chords in the higher register, and then you go back down to the octaves in the bass and you come up and you play chords in the higher register. And I think in this section in the opening, it would be really helpful if you would look really closely at your pedaling, just to make sure that you're not losing those octaves completely and then you're not losing the chords. Or if that is your plan and you are being intentional about pedaling on every single octave and chord, and your plan is to actually lose the sound of those things, then just make sure that it's consistent. Because what I was hearing was just a little bit of inconsistency with the pedal in this opening section that made it slightly confusing because I wasn't sure which sound you were going for. And so if you can be consistent with that, that's going to be gorgeous and even more musical. I think with your ornaments in this piece, you have a really unique opportunity to play around with rubato a little bit and make sure that all of your ornaments are nice and singing in style. We get to do that in Chopin. I think in Chopin in particular, but especially in ornaments from the Romantic period, they should never sound strictly in time and really rushed or anything like that. We want them to have that feeling of being sung. It's clear that you know what the rhythm of these ornaments are, and now you can stretch them out a little bit and be more musical and play with them a little bit. So for example, in measure 6, you have this ornament and you played it very in time and very crisp, but I think you could consider playing around with it and playing it like this. I think you could consider is exploring the different kinds of touches that you can use to get different sounds in your melody notes. And this is pretty high level stuff because at the very base level, we always want to make sure that our melody is voiced above our accompaniment. And you're doing that beautifully here. We want to make sure that our melody is shaped and that we're using dynamics so that our phrasing comes across, and you're doing that here as well. And so now I think you can really explore the different sections and ask yourself, what is the mood of these sections? What is Chopin saying in this piece? What am I trying to say in this piece? And are there different ways that I can pull different sounds out of the piano? One of my favorite ways to do this is to just explore playing on the pads of our fingertips, which is like the squishy part of your finger. And I know in beginning piano, we talk a lot about keeping our fingers nice and rounded and playing on the fingertips. And that is absolutely true. That is important. That is essential. But once we get to this higher level of playing and we want to experiment with this beautiful singing tone quality, which Chopin's music is always calling for, we can intentionally play on the pad of our finger because it helps us create a really singing and melodic tone quality. You can also consider pushing the sound into the keys or pulling the sound out of the keys. And I would explore this maybe in the chord section. In the music, it's the section that says poco più lento. So let's look at that together. So I can play these chords on my fingertips like this. And I get that kind of sound. But what if I play with a little bit flatter fingers and I pull the sound out of the keys? Listen to what happens. Hear how all of a sudden the chords became almost reverent in their nature? It was like the other voices were so gentle that they were barely there, and the melody was still singing above the chords. And so utilizing different touches can help us explore that range of sound that we can get out of the piano. This is something that we work on a lot in Casual to Confident Piano Player program, where we're on live calls and I can see you play and I can really help you experiment with those different touches and those little nuances that are really hard to figure out on your own in your own practice. And I can get you sounding much better during that time. And I can also tell you exactly how to practice things so that you can reproduce that sound on your own during your own practice and playing. And I'll link Casual to Confident Piano Player membership down in the description below, and that way you can check it out. Now, my last comment for you is I recognize it's a little bit contradictory, and I can tell that you've spent so much time and energy getting this piece to the level that it's at. And I commend you on that because I know that it took a lot of work and I know that it took a lot of practice. Throughout some of the sections, while you are playing musically, and it's so beautiful to listen to, it feels like you are holding back slightly. It feels like you are focusing so much on what you are trying to play and how you are playing it that we're not quite hearing you as much as I want to in this piece. And I wonder what would happen if you could trust that all of the hard work that you did was there and that your technique wasn't going to fail you and that yes, maybe there would be wrong notes or maybe things would go wrong, but you were going to play as musically and expressively as possible. And I want to hear that version of this piece because I think that it would be even more spectacular than the recording that we just listened to. And for all of you that are watching, this is such a difficult thing to do, to trust ourselves, to know that we did put in all the time and energy and effort, and we can let loose and we can really go for the music. But I think it's a really important practice because that's why we're all here, right? We're trying to make music, and so we have to, in fact, trust ourselves, practice letting go, so that we can focus just on the music. So I encourage you to try that, Sarah. Thank you so much for sending in a video. It was absolutely gorgeous. Those of you that are watching, I would love to hear from you. Any level, any amount of time you've been playing, it would be so awesome to hear a video. I'll link the form in the description below where you can submit a video. I hope to hear from you soon. Happy practicing.